Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to the video, the paid request, this time for Phil. Thank you so much for that. And sorry if my voice screeched at the beginning, I don't know why. But for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, reviews, re-reviews, what have you, or anything random or what, pretty much feel free to send it, either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box under pretty much any of these videos, and I will try to get to it as soon as I can. But Phil wanted me to talk about Iron Man 2 from 2010. Now, I had not seen this film in a while. And when this film came out, while it did get some good critical reviews, you could tell that a lot of people felt let down. They felt it was a letdown from the first, which I will agree to a point that it's definitely not as good as the first Iron Man. And yes, there's stuff in there that wasn't needed. It does have its flaws, but it had a very lukewarm reaction with the fans. And I will say, watching it today, I think it's aged a bit better because it's miles better than the shit we have nowadays. Now, is it up to Iron Man 1? No. I would put the Captain America films above this as well. Of course, I would put Blade 2, Superman, the movie, Batman, a lot of superhero movies above this. But of the Marvel MCU, it's at least an okay time waster. I probably liked it a little bit more than that. Like, I had a decent time watching this again, flaws and all, because I would easily watch this over Iron Man 3. I would easily watch this over almost the past 5 years of Marvel. I still thought it had some fun characters where the cast really worked their magic amongst it. It's way before all the woke political shit they tried to shove into these goddamn movies. The only thing they shoved into them at this point was building it up for the Avengers. Or later on building it up for Infinity War. I would say the cast worked well to keep me entertained because not only did you have Robert Downey Jr. back as Iron Man, still doing a good job being funny and charming and a wisecracker and narcissist. Gwyneth Paltrow works with Robert Downey Jr. fairly well. They're back and forth banter. Jon Favreau, the director, also playing Happy, the driver. He's a little bit of a boxer and the friend of Downey Jr.'s character. Still nice to see him in there. Don Cheadle replaces Terrence Howard. I thought that was a good choice because I do think Don Cheadle is a better actor than Terrence Howard. I just wish they just chose Don Cheadle in the first film for continuity's sake. It was cool to see people like Gary Shandling in there, Sam Rockwell, Mickey Rourke. A lot of people don't like Mickey Rourke in the film. It didn't bother me. His Russian accent didn't bother me. Maybe because I'm a sucker for Mickey Rourke as an actor. And this is kind of when it seemed like he was going to have a comeback. Because you had The Wrestler, which I really enjoy, directed by Darren Aronofsky. You had him in The Expendables in the same year as this, 2010. And sadly, quickly after, that just went downhill. To the point I don't even know what the fuck Mickey Rourke's doing now. Which is a shame. I know Mickey Rourke did not like doing the film. He didn't like the final product. He said a lot of his scenes were cut out. And I still didn't mind his character, but I think the problem is, which I'll get to more so, the second act of the film really hurts the movie. Because I think actually the first, even... it's a 2-hour movie. The first hour 50 minutes are actually, I thought, pretty decent in the fact of, build a bit of who Mickey Rourke is, and despite his goofy scream at the beginning, I get it, your father died, but you don't. Come on, guys, you don't have to have your bad guy go up and go, ah! Just you don't need that. Just cut that part out. Almost made me want to think of no and Revenge of the Episode 3, the Star Wars thing. I mean, the story is that Mickey Rourke his father worked with Tony Stark's father back in the day, and Mickey Rourke thinks that, hey, your father stole a lot of shit from my dad. I can build these reactors too. I can build weapons like this too. I'm gonna come after you and your sorry ass and get revenge. But sadly, because especially in the second act, they don't make the villains that threatening. There's never a time that you think that Mickey Rourke's character is gonna beat Iron Man. Same with Sam Rockwell, who plays a opposing industrial guy. He has his own company, Hammer Industries, who also builds weapons and technology. And then at one point, Sam Rockwell and Mickey Rourke team up together. But even then, you don't buy them as a threat. Now, on the flip side, I do like them as actors. Sam Rockwell, I liked him in Galaxy Quest and this underrated sci-fi film called Moon. And it's great to, I do think he works well with Robert Downey Jr. and again, Mickey Rourke. Like I said, I like the actors and I like a decent amount of what they do. It's just, I think the script really falters in the second half of the film especially. Because as I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, I don't mind Mickey Rourke. Again, I know some people hate his accent. I don't mind it. Then you got the introduction of Iron Man with AC/DC. I'm a sucker for AC/DC. You got Shoot to Thrill. You got Highway to Hell at the end. I'm always down for AC/DC. I do like him coming into AC/DC. You got, I call it the Nitro Girls, because if you remember WCW Nitro, that's what these girls remind me of. But they got Iron Man suits as Tony Stark opens up the Stark Expo. I like some of the humor, like they see Stan Lee and he thinks it's Larry Teen. Hey, Larry Teen, hey, Larry. Gary Shandling, I like him playing the senator that gives Tony shit. At one point, he even goes, fuck you, buddy, okay? Fuck you. I like Tony Stark, his sort of, he has a bit of an ego because he is Iron Man. This seems in line with his character. I do think he plays well with Pepper Potts, with Gwyneth Paltrow's character. Now, one of the issues is that, again, trying to put other stuff in there, like Scarlett Johansson, to set up Black Widow, and you have Nick Fury, that stuff should have just been taken out. And ironically, Scarlett Johansson has a hallway fight, and that fight's better than anything in Black Widow, her own damn movie. So I think that's a bit sad and ironic. But here, you don't know who she is yet, and she's undercover as this type of, like, assistant. I like some of the lines of dialogue, like when Sam Rockwell has this girl who's like a reporter and goes up kind of to brag with Tony Stark, and then Tony looks at her and goes, oh yeah, she did a cover on me, she did a spread, she did quite good spread, oh, and she wrote a story as well. I didn't mind that. Like, you see a bit, like, Jon Favreau is a very capable director, very capable. I don't mind Made. He had a hand in writing Swingers. He didn't direct it, but he helped write it. I really enjoy Swingers. I like Cowboys and Aliens. I like Theroux. I like the first Iron Man. And you could tell, I'm sure nowadays they kind of keep that hush, but you could tell Jon Favreau and Marvel guys had a big old fight in the middle of this movie. And I'm sure there's some shit he wanted to do that got changed. Because while he continued to act in the movies, he never directed for them again. And he's like, okay, you think about it, this is a guy that, man, he didn't even direct Iron Man 3. I mean, I guess when you look at the broad scheme of things, that happens a lot. Like, Kenneth Branagh only did the first Thor. Captain America First Avenger, that director didn't come back for the other films. Was it Joe Johnston? Of course, they didn't bring Joss Whedon back after the second Avengers. So I just, it seems like a common thing nowadays. But at the time, it's like, oh, dude, that's a bit weird that they're not having him directed again, or especially Iron Man 3. But again, I remember hearing back to the day that him and Marvel just have a lot of friction telling him what he should do, what he shouldn't do, arguments about what should be in it, what should not be in it. And I think, sadly, the film suffers a bit because of that. Also, the movie, like, if you like action, there's not a whole lot of action in the film. I would say there's probably 3 primary scenes of action. Which I think for a lot of people, they wanted a bit more. They wanted a bit more action, and I can understand that. Because you have the Grand Prix where Tony starts racing, and I like most of the scene where Mickey Rourke comes in and the way the cars smash, and I thought the effects looked pretty good. Yes, you have that goofy bit where like 40 cars explode behind Mickey Rourke. I'm like, okay. But like when he hits and the car flies upside down, I thought that looked pretty cool even in today's standards. It didn't look like a cartoon. It didn't look like a video game. I thought, for the most part, for 2010, looked pretty decent. I think Jon Favreau, I know a lot of times he wanted to use as much practical as he could, and I think that did help in some of his action scenes. And when the action happens, it was kind of fun. I like the third act action scene. A lot of people don't. I like it where all these drones are alive and controlled, and Don Cheadle's in the war machine, but he's being controlled by Mickey Rourke's character, and they're going around this expo, and Tony Stark has to avoid all this stuff, and then him and War Machine team up to fight all these robots, and it's fun popcorn stuff where Iron Man gets to do his business punching through War Machine with the Gatling gun, shooting the shit out of stuff. But even then, there's issues with that, which I'll get to. I like the little ideas, like the football suit that's like a suitcase that Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. could turn to Iron Man. I thought the humor worked well. This is before it went too rampant and too over the top with the later Marvel films. But how, like, Jon Favreau was hitting the car back and forth to fucking Mickey Rourke, and Robert Downey Jr. is trying to get to the car, and Paltrow's trying to give him the suitcase, but keeps going back and forth. I did actually chuckle at that. And like I said, I'm watching this, other than little nitpicks here and there, I'm like, okay, this first hour isn't too bad. Isn't too bad. I didn't mind Mickey Rourke's line, if you make God bleed, then people cease to believe. Pretty much giving him a big old piece of humble pie with a side of humble cake. Almost said Kai. I'm like, what? This is a new dish between cake and pie. Kai. It's the Kai. Things kind of take a little bit of a turn when Tony's... That's another thing that happens, that Tony Stark is dying because his arc reactor is poisoning his blood and he can't find a good replacement. Because he gets drunk, Don Cheadle tells everybody to get out of the party, they have a fight, and pretty much Tony starts doing that because he knows he's going to die. That's why he makes Paltrow the new CEO. That's why he lets Rhodey, Don Cheadle, go off with the War Machine suit. But it's trying to do like the Demon in the Bottle storyline in the comic, but it doesn't want to go all the way. So it wants to go into this... He's treated because he's been poisoned, so it's not... I don't know, I would have preferred taking out Scarlett Johansson, take out Nick Fury, and really have it be this... As much as he's on top of the world, he does have a problem with alcoholism. Because of whatever the reason. I don't remember what the reason was in the comics. But... just go with that. But Marvel doesn't want to do that because, come on, it's for the kids. Fuck them kids. When I was a kid, I was watching Predator and I saw spines getting ripped out. Be fucking fine about the danger of alcoholism because you're teaching that it's not fun, it's a danger. This is why you should not do it. Look at Iron Man. He's doing that and it's not good. That's why you should not do it too. And that's the thing, it's like they kind of pussy out on that and they didn't go all the way, and that's where it kind of, like, the scene is not the worst, but there's potential loss there because of Marvel wanting their more of their creative control onto the project. And then you get into the whole Nick Fury, you find out who Scarlett Johansson is, and here's your father's stuff, we're going to leave you alone. And like a good chunk of the second half of the film, for like, that, what was it, 30 minutes? Really hurts the movie. And I think that's the biggest detrimental part of the movie, is that kind of 25-30 minute span where Tony Stark is watching his dad's videos and blah blah blah, and he needs to find new element, and he's trying to do all this stuff to find new element. Meanwhile, he cut to Don Cheadle, talked with the military, I want these weapons. Meanwhile, you got to Sam Rockwell, talked with Mickey Ward, and Mickey Ward wants his bird, and wait, that ain't my bird. And you have the bad guys isolated doing their stuff, and then you have Robert Downey Jr. isolated doing his stuff. And neither one is that interesting because, again, the villains are not that threatening. I like the two actors, but they didn't really make a sense of big point of evil or carnage or... I don't know how else to put it. You're not threatened by the bad guys. The good guy's just by himself, pissing around, finds this new element that I don't give a fuck about. And honestly, a lot of people didn't give a fuck about. I'm sorry, they did not give a shit about that part of the story. If you want to dive deep more into the bottle and that demons, because Robert Downey Jr. is a good actor, and sadly, I mean, he was with drugs, but he could pull in a little personal experience with that. I think that could have been something a bit special, but no, we can't do that. And so those 25, 30 minutes got pretty boring. I went, oh, yeah, this is why... Yeah. Or even like just action bits for escapism, popcorn fun. Like I said, there's really only 3 action bits, and one of them is 2 friends fighting in a party, which, you know, has a kind of fun, but it's, you know, nothing mind-blowing. And I think, you know, for a sequel, people wanted a bit more. And then you get to the third act, and there's the Stark Expo again, and Sam Rockwell is so fucking stupid, he doesn't think, oh, this guy, Mickey Ward, nothing would go wrong with him. And lo and behold, he takes all the drones under his control, and all 50 of them try to shoot Iron Man, and none of them can hit him. Or they must have learned from Stormtrooper school. I know my friend Michael Keane mentioned about how it seems like wherever Iron Man flew, there's like people under him, like on the ground. So it's like, Tony, can you move? Can you like fly to some place where there's no people there? Like, if they're chasing you, can you, I don't know, is there an ocean nearby or something that you could like move them around? And I guess you could argue that it'd be a wide open space and there'd be no way to dodge the fire. He would easily die if he did that. Because he can move, you know, 2 or 3 bad guys, but there's supposed to be like 40 of them, and that's why he's kind of using the environments to try to blot the missiles and stuff. So that's why it didn't bother me as much. I don't think he was being irresponsible. It's just that, you know, how else can he do it so he doesn't die? Because if he goes on the water, open space, people are just gonna, all these missiles are gonna go after him, and because there's no debris, no blockades to not get hit. So it didn't bother me as much, but I know that bothered some people. Also, I know there's that bit with the little kid with the Iron Man helmet, and I guess Tom Holland said he talked to Kevin Feige, and he said, yes, that's supposed to be a young Peter Parker. I call bullshit on that. I think they did that randomly, and they said, oh, the fans think oh yeah, that's a good idea. Sure, yeah, it's Peter Parker, sure. Sure, why not? I'm not lying. I think that was someone that, hey, we gotta have Iron Man save, get him to save some people, which I don't blame. It's a superhero. But I don't believe that back in 2010 that they thought that, oh yeah, Jon Favreau and whoever wrote it said, you know what? I don't make this little kid. Yeah, he's Peter Parker. You fucking know that if that was their intention, someone would have said, Peter, are you alright? You know that's how they would work. You know that's what they would have done. They would have said, Peter, are you alright? Or there'd be something where it said like Parker or something like that. Well, they don't have the rights. Well, hey, we didn't say it was Peter Parker. We just said his name was Peter. You're the one, like, there's plausible deniability with that. But they would have something like that, so. Whatever. I think that's something they just. Sure, you guys said it, so yeah, sure, that was the case. I did think the chase scene was fun. I did like Don Cheadle, like how he's trying to warn and talk to Robert Downey Jr. even though he's not in control of the suit. I like the two of them teaming up against the drones. I thought that was a fun action sequence. I think the little bits with Don Cheadle and Robert Downey Jr., I think they... Like I said, I think a lot of the cast do work well together. I think that's one of Jon Favreau's better suits as a director, is having the actors comfortable and working with each other, so it feels more natural. And like I said, you have the bit with Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow fighting these people in a hallway. It's as sexy as she's looked, with her hair down and hair long. And I know fucking Scarlett complains that, oh yeah, well that one, they sexualized the character, and man, it's so much better nowadays. Yeah, God forbid we look at a lady and, we don't mind if she's sexy or not. Dude, let me tell you something. There's a lot of ladies, not all, but a lot of ladies, they look at a guy and they want to know that the guy's sexy as well. The door swings both ways. Come on now. And again, her fight is better than any shit she did in her own goddamn movie. So again, the two fight the robots, and then Mickey Ward comes down. And even that fight, Mickey Ward is a pushover of a villain. I think that's one of the downsides. And I don't think it's Mickey Ward's fault. It's just the way the character was written, where whether because of his weapon with the whips, which he's called Whiplash, I get it from the comics. He just wasn't a formidable threat, and it seemed like he got taken out easy. Like, once Tony Stark on the Grand Prix got the suit, he took down the Mickey Ward pretty easily. And even the final bit of that fight is, the two of them shoot, boom. And, I don't know, just... And that's what I mean, like, the second half, especially, is when the script falters, for some of the various reasons I mentioned. So, I don't hate the film. I would gladly watch this over Iron Man 3, and the Eternals, and Thor Love and Thunder, and what they've done to the fucking Hulk, and She-Hulk, and... I don't think it shits on Iron Man as a character. I don't think it shits on really any of the characters. When you watch it nowadays, I do think at the very least it's a decent time waster. I think it's okay. I liked it. So that's why I say I liked it a bit more than that. Like, from decent time waster to I liked it. I liked it. Do I love it? No. Are there flaws? Yes. It does look better in the state of today. It's a step down from the first one, but Iron Man 3 made me more mad, and a lot of other movies made me more mad. So this movie doesn't make me mad. I feel bad for Jon Favreau for not having full control of the movie. It sets that Marvel and Kevin Feige and the shitheads, putting their, even early on, putting their fucking faces into the projects. I wish they made Mickey Rourke a bit more of an intimidating, worthwhile foe, like more of a danger. I think more time should have been spent on that, and I think alcoholism for Tony Stark, and not this fucking element shit and Nick Fury. I liked Sam Jackson, but the Nick Fury shit and all that just wasn't that interesting in this product. So that's my thoughts on Iron Man 2. So that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later.